Oh my gosh, such a long class. I'm the worst ever. I am starting to feel guilty about how long this is. I'll try and ease things up for Fridays, so that it's not quite so long. So let's talk about two big practical effects of the Enlightenment. The first one we've already talked about a little bit in earlier things, and that one is the disenchantment of the world. The world, there isn't like magic in the world anymore. Faith, schmaith. Like there's not really any need for that. Anything that is not sensed is not important or maybe even real. By sensed, I mean that you can sort of see it, hear it, touch it, etc., measure it in some way. Are there ghosts? Maybe. Until I can sense ghosts, it doesn't really matter. Until you have some sort of evidence. Like it's not a question of whether ghosts exist or not. It's just, why should I put my reason to use on ghosts? That just doesn't make any sense. So what's going to happen is there's going to be this separation that happens at this point that we still have today. And it's separation between physics, stuff, and metaphysics, not stuff. Or what the term might call sense and sensibility, things that you can sense, and then, stuff about sensibilities like art and emotions and crap like that. Blah, who cares, right? This is the stuff that matters. So here's the deal. Again, it's not that the other stuff doesn't matter. It's not that poetry doesn't matter, though of course there are going to be some arguments that maybe it's harmful or things like that. It's just that I just can't say much about it. Like, I mean, it just really doesn't tell me anything about the world. It doesn't give me any control over the world. So blah. These things become seen as less vital to human progress. What becomes vital to human progress? Stuff. And the study of stuff becomes science. These are the things that matter. And then there's going to be a reappropriation of some terms like goodness and justice. That philosophy is going to love those things. Those are going to be science terms now. Like, what is justice? It's not what does justice mean in a philosophical sense, but how do we get prisoners, for example, if we want to talk about justice, how do we take people who don't use their reason and rehabilitate them so that they do use their reason? That's going to be the idea of the justice system. And things like that. What about God? Where does God fit in all this thing? And the answer is that as time goes on, God is definitely in this metaphysical category. I can't really tell much about him. And he's going to, again, as we've talked about before, God is going to move further to the side. Not unimportant, just not the part of what we're doing. And to the point where we can basically do this without God. He gave us reasons so we can do all this stuff. And then we just say less and less and less about God to the point where we sort of get what we call secularism. It's just religion is out, but God just isn't necessary. Again, it doesn't really matter if God exists or not. If God exists, he put all these things here so we can sort of do it. If God doesn't exist, well, they're all here so we can do it. We're good. We got this. All the way till we can talk, Nietzsche can talk in the 1800s about, God is dead and we killed him type thing. All right. That being said, obviously, like I said on that last slide about romanticism, this is not the end of the story. There's going to be pushback on these things, and there's going to be sort of a pendulum swing to sort of all reason to no reason, not no reason, but to sensibility to sense, and back and forth in literature, in science, in the way we think about things. So God is not dead, for sure on this. He's still a part of how we think about these things, but it's a very different way we think about them than we did in, say, the 1600s. The second big practical effect that's going to come out of this is going to be human control of nature, the unknown. Okay, so if humans have access to reason, and reason tells us right thinking, right action, all we have to do to solve any problem is just apply reason to that problem. And so everything out there becomes stuff. Does that make sense when I'm saying that? So what are you afraid of? And the answer is, the source of fear is what we don't know or control. Things that are outside of us, right? Everything that matters then is the knowledge I have inside me and the reason I have inside me, okay? I put those things together and everything's going to get fixed. But there's stuff outside of me, stuff I don't know. So what I have to do to control the unknown is to know stuff. Does that make sense? Know stuff about stuff I don't know. So for example, old school, there was a bad harvest. I'm afraid it's going to be a bad harvest, so we might do, sacrifices to the gods or something like that. Fear of a bad harvest is what we're going to get is this thing called agricultural science, where we're now going to get as much knowledge about agriculture as we can to ensure or to reduce the likelihood of a bad harvest. What about fear of social disorder? We're going to do this thing called bureaucratic data gathering or census, where we're going to know everything we can know about the population so that we can control the population. You can kind of see where this is going. So here's the deal. Okay, so let's just take me, for example. What about you guys? You guys are actually outside me. This is a problem, right? I can't sort of internalize you guys. You guys are always out there. You're always sort of free agents. You can do anything you want. I have no control over you guys. Ugh. So technically, others then become a source of fear. I don't know. I can't control them. So others are outside us, and thus they are also objects to be controlled and known. This becomes a big part of how modern society starts thinking about individuals in it. As the society thinks about the individuals, individuals start to think about each other. Is this idea that others are outside me, so we have to sort of know them. And so even all the sort of the modern ideas about capitalism and all that kind of stuff, you start to treat people as employees. I treat you as students, and you fit in this category of students that if I go online, I have little measures about you, like grades and your transcripts and your SAT scores. And now I can sort of convert you into a set of data points and thereby know you better, have more control over what you do. The school can do this, etc. Now, what this is going to lead to, of course, is mystery. Mystery has to be, everything is mystery, and everything then has to be reduced to numbers. So, for example, we reduce, how good's your soil to this number of soil fertility. Everybody has a social security number. Prisoners get prisoner number. This is going to get, again, we're going to talk about this later on, but the pinnacle of this is going to be in the concentration camp, where you are not an individual human being, you are that number that's been tattooed on your skin. And all that can be known and controlled. And that's going to become sort of the way that modern society sort of works. So what counts as knowledge and truth then conforms to these known numbers. So if I can't form a number about that particular thing, if I can't measure it in some way, then it's not a thing that can be known. It's not really truth. It's like feelings, or it's this or it's that, but it's not knowledge, it's not truth, and therefore it doesn't matter. So we get into the sort of age where the only things that matter are these things, and that's going to play a huge role in how society operates, how we think, all that kind of stuff. All right, you got a quick discussion. Again, I am so sorry. I should take discussion away, but I do want to have you guys discuss this very quickly with each other. This idea of whether you believe in progress or not. Do you think Pinker's right? Do you think these Enlightenment thinkers are right? Or do you think that humanity doesn't progress? All right, that's the question.